We've had to go through a lot of different things in terms of paperwork, approvals, protocol that the city's had, and she's been an invaluable resource to us, and wanted to let you know that it's really appreciated. It's behind the scenes, nobody knows he does it, but that's one thank you from the Golf Association. Move on, I'll be brief. I think you may have received a financial report in your packet. We thought we had a great year out there. We had to take some extraordinary measures given COVID. But our income was right around 25 grand. Our expenses were not quite 20, so we cleared about 5 grand this year. One thing I want to point out to the council and the public here is our member dues and our Dropbox fees make up about 88% of our revenue. They did last year anyway. And there was a huge number of the public that used that facility this year as a safe green space around the community. There was a lot of people that walked out there. We figured that we had more golfers out there than we've ever had, just because of the green space and what that place is and represents. You may or may not know this, but we have a drop slot. We have an honor box drop slot out there for people that just show up because we're not open to take their money, right? And we pulled about $3,000 out of that drop box during COVID this past season. So we're really pleased with that. So I can take questions on the financials, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. In terms of members, we had 51 family members out there this year, family memberships. We had 24 corporate memberships, and they're really a backbone of what we do out there too. So if you are one or if you know one, thank those people. It's really appreciated. And then we had 14 new memberships out there last year, and I've already heard of several for this upcoming year, so that'll be nice. In terms of events and things that we hosted out there last year, just a couple of things. Obviously, we were social distance like everybody else. When we started the season, instead of our normal Wednesday night, everybody gathered, take off, playing in foursomes, sixsomes, what have you. We changed the rules so that our golfers could golf from Wednesday through Sunday and turn in their scorecard. And that worked pretty well, we thought, and it was just one of the adjustments that we had to make. We didn't use the clubhouse all summer because we just felt that we shouldn't have people in there, but we adjusted much like everybody else. A couple other projects we did out there. We expanded the parking lot a little bit. We just put some more gravel on it this week. So that's a lot nicer out there. We put a pipe in across 3, which was helpful to the cross country team. They helped us put it in there, but we got that done. You might remember the city had, or the rec office had smoke on the bricks scheduled to be uptown. That was not enough space for the people that were coming in, and for the participants. They came to us, a few days beforehand and said, "Hey, is there any way we can do it out at the course?" And like, hey, whatever we can do. So I think we had 45 to 47 teams out there. It was a beautiful day and turned out to be a great event. Of course, in September, we had the chamber tournament, best that we could. Again, trying to social distance, best that we could. It didn't gather people in the clubhouse, that kind of thing. We were poised to do 4th of July out there. We got rained out, so we got weathered out of being able to have people on the course, but we were ready to do that. And then, of course, everybody knows that we host annually multiple cross-country events, and probably more than ever this year. I know Free State even ran a meet down there at one point because they couldn't find a place to run. So we were, just adjusted on the fly and worked that out with them. And the Heart of America League Championship race was out there in early November. Some of the things that we want to do for 21, We've talked about this for a long time, but we need to do it, and it's a good problem to have. We need to be able to accommodate some more carts. So we're going to figure out a way to build another cart shed. And then probably a lot of what the current board has been focused on in the last couple, 3 years is really trying to continue to work with different community entities. Included in that is of course, this group, the city. And we've got a project going on right now that they're going to help us hang a protective net off of 6 or on the fairway to 6, so long hitters like Casey, Scott, and Chief back here can get their drivers back out on 6 and not be worried about tearing up anybody's car or killing anybody in that corner.
It's usually my pups that get that far.
We started last year in a small way doing a scholarship through USD 348. We awarded a scholarship to a cross country runner last year, and we're gonna try to continue to do that moving forward. Obviously, we've got a close relationship with Baker, the Chamber, the Lumberyard Arts Center, and we're starting to have a little bit of a relationship with the Baldwin Education Foundation. So all of those entities are touching that property, and we feel like we're doing a good job out there. We have our annual Workday schedule for the first Saturday in April this year. Among some of the things we want to do out there is we need to add some sand to the greens, a little bit of dirt work, some seeding, some painting, maybe some tree trimming. And then lastly, I'm just going to throw this out there because of our 501c3 status. We want to start reviewing some grant possibilities to continue to improve that property out there. So that's my report. Any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
I don't have a question, but I do have a thank you, and that is for you putting the gravel out there in the parking lot, because I was out there today, and it was so nice because I didn't have mud in my car like I did last week. So
well, thank you for saying that. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies, you want to step forward? Well, it's becoming a tradition in Baldwin that we win state championships, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to raise taxes because we're running out of paper. So what I have here is a proclamation for you guys. It states, whereas February 28th, 2021, Baldwin High School girls wrestling team won the state championship. Whereas in recognition of the Baldwin High School girls wrestling team, now therefore I, Casey Semino, Mayor of the City of Baldwin City, do hereby proclaim February 28th, 2021 to be Baldwin High School Girls Wrestling Day. So I want to congratulate you guys, congratulate Coach for being the first coach in state history to win both the boys and girls state wrestling championships. So keep it up. You guys are doing awesome. So congratulations.
Thank you.
We have a day. Thank you guys.
Can we show some moves or something?
Quick start. I'm good. I lost that 20 years ago.
It just made me feel bad. We said about high school girls, never let it down.
All right, next is old business, ordinance 1429, animal control. Blake, you want to address this with the council?
Sure, yeah, we, a year ago, 2 years ago, kind of changed our animal control ordinance. And this was just a section that got left off. It was an accident. It was brought to our attention, so we put together basically this section to be added back in. It follows what it was before.
Which section?
Highlighted it in blue.
Didn't see that.
Cats,
Deals with the chickens.
chickens and ducks.
Chickens and ducks.
You have more than 20 chickens, you got a problem.
Good to know.
Real good.
Glenn might be having flashbacks.
I'm
To
play
play
music.
music.
A motion. Start before the puns start going.
That's 2505, Scott.
Okay. Right there, I never saw blue, so there it is. Yep. Got it, thanks.
Any questions or comments on
I do. So do we have a facility for animal control, and also do we have an animal control officer? Those were both listed in the.
So our animal control officer, I think, is in the police right now. We used to have a part-time animal control officer, and we don't anymore. So kind of falling on our PD at the moment. And that's just how it is kind of with a town of our size.
Okay. And I noticed it also said that if you have any complaints, that it goes to the municipal judge. You can't just go to the police officer or go to the police department and ask or tell them what you've seen.
So you're talking about in the,
If you
which
have-
section?
It's in the complaint section. I don't know what the number is. But it says if you have any complaints, that you go before the municipal judge and report, and then he decides on what to do, basically. I'm paraphrasing.
Section 2-102.
2-102.
Laura?
So we have a system set up where people can log on our website and enter complaints, and if that happens to be one of them, it gets directed to the police department. And if it happens to land in my email, I send it to the appropriate person, which is the police department, and if it has to go further than that, then Blake gets involved, and then it goes through the court.
So I thought this is what you were referring to, Julie, and I wanted to read it to make sure that's what it was. So another name for the complaint is a ticket. So when you get it, like even a speeding ticket, at the top it says complaint. And so it's not the complaint that you're typically thinking of like, oh, I go before the judge and I'm like, you know what? I got some grievances I'm going to air out. It's actually the written document, and then that goes to the municipal.
Okay, so I misunderstood it.
No, that's fine. It's common.
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on that? Any comments from the public on that? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance 1429, animal control. Second.
Moved and seconded. Corey? Aye. Brian?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is under new business, resolution 2021-08, alcohol waiver. And this is for the golf course, the annual alcohol waiver, I believe, for men's night, Wednesday nights. So that is what this is for.
I was a little bit confused on the terminology. I know they have events out there where they actually sell 4th of July or some of the other things. And it seemed like this resolution, I think it's specifically stated to pertaining to selling, or what were the provisions here? So I guess what I was confused about were just the normal league nights where nothing's for sale, people bring their own. Is this permit needed for that because it is?
So
That's what this resolution addresses, is
Okay.
BYOB. That's what we set it up for, instead of them coming 15 different times to the council.
So, right, so what I'm confused about is unlawful for any person to sell or serve.
So if someone does that, there's a different permit that they have to get through the state and the city.
Okay.
And they're aware of that, and they apply, with a special application, and that's for special events.
That's what I was trying to
Yes,
relate to two different,
they are two separate.
two separate,
things.
okay, gotcha. That makes sense then.
Any other questions or comments on this agenda item? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move we approve resolution 2021-08, alcohol waiver.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item under new business is city branding. Lynn, do you want to kind of give an update, or Corey, or Susan from CDC?
Yeah, well, we've kind of been reviewing the new, I guess you call it a soft branding. Is that what we kind of call it? It's going to probably be mostly for the online usage, not redoing the decals on the city police vehicles or anything like that. This is more of a soft logo that Lynn's been working on. It came through CDC. There were a couple just minor things that we maybe wanted to see changed on it, and kind of got a couple different looks, and this is the final one that you see here that we wanted to bring to council for discussion. So here we are. There's also a guide that comes with it as far as how to use the colors, etc., for whoever were to use this logo. Sort of just a guideline that's standard for official logo, official brand.
Are there any questions for Corey, Lynn, anybody?
Is this going to be published in any way on a website or available for people to see the whole guide itself?
Yeah, it's going to go on the website, correct? I understood it.
The whole guide. So there is a public facing version that's simplified, and then this will also be available as a PDF to any vendor or anybody who's specifically using the logo.
Will the simplified version have this first part, which is this the brand voice or branding voice that has the confidence, helpful, humble, vibrant?
Yes, it does.
The short version, yeah.
How were these, what do we call them, values, or how were these sections developed?
How is it developed?
Yeah.
Well, I looked at various and sundry brand guidelines from various and sundry towns, cities, other corporations. It's something I've done various times with other entities. A brand guideline is something pretty simple that most corporations do, just as a matter of getting out on the table exactly how they plan to voice their brand. It's something the city did not have. What we had was a logo style guide that simply said how the logo should look, essentially. What we did not have was statements of voicing or any policy surrounding where or how the logo should be used. And that was what I went to CDC with. So yes, I did, I used various and sundry input from different groups that I belong to, and got other communicators' input on it.
But this isn't a policy, this is just a guide.
It's just a guideline, yes. But for instance, where it says third-party logo use, you could possibly consider that a policy, and underneath that it says policies. There's a couple of paragraphs that state how and when it should be used, and who has permission, who has the authority to give permission for logo use.
So what exactly are we voting on? Are we voting on, the way I read it is we are voting on this entire document because it includes policy, it includes new logos, and those are never separated out from the document. So I'm not sure if I'm voting on, do I approve this whole branding guide to follow, or am I just approving logos or policy, because for me, I sort of need some of that specified what it is I'm voting on.
As I understand it, it's both.
So it's the whole document.
Yes.
I feel that there are parts of this document that were taken from another city website. And I would like to see this part that has confident, helpful, humble, vibrant, either taken back and rewritten or credited to the people who wrote those sections.
Glenn, would you like to speak to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we certainly can do that. I mean, but it's not uncommon to, I mean, they actually offered their branding guides to us to use, so I don't think anybody's offended in any way if we're using their guides. That's a common thing to do in this sort of realm. So we reached out to other cities and entities and they for examples, and they gave us their materials. So yeah, there's no doubt it's patterned after other cities, other people who have done branding guides before. So we're definitely borrowing heavily from other people. We didn't reinvent any of the guidelines or anything. The only thing that's really original for us is the logo and things that flow with that. But as far as the guide goes, it's a standard guide. You find it in many other cities. So,
But the words that I read are the same word for word, verbatim, in some sections as the city of Boston.
I have no problem crediting Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay, that's all I was asking. Because I take these values, when you take the first part of it and you talk about Baldwin, and then you add the other part, which is from Boston, I don't know, and I understand this is so that we can write social media and the website. I understand this is not for the citizens of Baldwin to read and say, you know, the words if, maybe, but, could, don't live in our vocabulary. That is word for word from Boston's branding guide.
That is true, but that's also a very common statement in brand guidelines.
It is. I guess I'm
Do you see the citation?
I'm done being
Yeah.
gaslighted. You are voting on something that is published in another city. If that is common practice, that's okay. It's just what I'm saying. I homeschool 5th and 7th grade right now. Both language arts class talk about citation. If you read someone else's ideas, you can use your own words to describe what you read. That's all I'm asking. If not, these are ideas. This is someone's writing, even the very first part. This is verbatim from another city. It's okay if that's standard practice. I looked at 10 different guides. I saw the template, which was the same. I saw the descriptions, which were the same. That's okay. To me, that's like writing an ordinance. It's the same language pretty much everywhere you go, so it's understandable. But someone's actual ideas and intellectual property, I don't feel comfortable voting yes to a full guide. I don't have problems with the policies I like the logo, by the way. I think the logo is great. This is just a personal thing. I hope you don't take offense. I hope if you did reach out to the city of Boston, I hope that they gave full permission. Me personally, I would have thought of my own words to describe what it was I read. And I feel like for me to support this document is me saying I support the same exact document, basically, that is for the citizens of Boston. And I just don't feel that speaks to Baldwin City. I don't take offense, it's just how I personally feel. And I'm tired of being told that if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think I am on this. I think you quote, what you're quoting. If not, think of a different way to say it. These are very common things to say. And this is good advice, and this is very good to write to this. But passing it off like this is our idea, I'm not so sure it is.
I'm not taking offense, but I've been very upfront from the beginning that Boston, Massachusetts is where I got the idea.
I have never heard that.
And I'm happy to add that in if you would like that.
I don't need that.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we send it back to CDC and take another look at that part of it?
Yeah, if we need to revise something or if we need to,
It's fine. If we
Citation.
have permission from the city of Boston, I say let's go ahead and vote right now. Do we have permission from the city of Boston?
Yes, Brian.
Okay. I'm sorry I brought it up.
So I guess when I read through this, I'm not a branding expert, so it's outside of my lane, but as we talk through these, these first 4 descriptors, I was a little surprised that we used those, because they're pretty generic. And in my head, I don't know if your brand is supposed to line up with your vision, but to me, this was kind of an area where we have a vision of what the city is and wants to become, that it would somehow resemble those terms in here as well, or only. Our brand represents the vision. So, I think it's fine. I didn't know where it came from. Now I do. And I'm okay with leveraging that because I don't know that it's a critical piece of what we're going to go do. I want to stay on the right side of the law, obviously. But if this gets us the document we need to publish, the brand and let others use it, I'm good as well. Because I'm not sure how many people are actually going to look at this document and read these things and make an assessment about our community.
I think based off the feedback we've received, I think we should take another look at it. CDC.
That's fine. That's fine.
Let's just
Maybe
go
we
ahead
look
and
at our
pass it.
vision statement and the words we use in there, like vibrant is in
Yeah,
there.
I saw that and I said, well,
Incorporate that into those.
Yeah, and I think it would help us in that visioning if we can, because we never really talked in detail about how we would actually describe that. I think we had different views, and that may be a chance to coalesce that and go, this is what we mean by vibrant for this community. And it will probably be different than a Boston or another city.
Right. Yeah, I mean, as far as the branding guideline goes, I was under the understanding that was just for the purposes of using the logo.
Right.
I was looking to do a strategic plan with our branding.
Well, I just didn't know how they fit, right?
Right.
And that's fair. If they don't fit at all, I'm okay with, with all of this.
Right.
Well, when I read this, I thought it was a little bit harsh myself on some of the things that were said.
Have you ever been to Boston?
I have not.
That explains
That
everything.
doesn't mean that we should be like Boston.
No, I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing you. But, but I think this whole process, how it comes out of committee, I think it's okay to have this discussion.
Exactly.
I mean, this is how it's
This is
supposed to work.
natural.
Otherwise, we're all sitting in the same committees,
Sure.
the work sessions all. So I don't think anybody should feel bad about raising issues at this point.
Yep.
I mean, that's how it works. I'm good with that.
There's no harm. That's what this whole process is. It's
Exactly.
completely
Yeah.
fine. I guess, while we're all here and we have, does anybody have any feedback as far as the actual visual?
Logo side. You guys like the way it looks?
I'm the least creative guy here, I'm sure. I mean, I think it looks tremendous, obviously. When I was trying to associate, because when people look at the logo, they're not going to know what we know. So I was trying to figure out what everything represented in here, and I think I figured it all out. I think the only thing missing, and I don't know how you'd represent it, is, we have a lot of rooftops in a bedroom-like community, just the home piece, right? The housing piece.
Yeah.
You can't put everything in, but visually, I think it's certainly attractive.
How is our city flag incorporated into this plan? I don't see it anywhere.
I think it's on the top of that church there.
On top of Farmer.
Is that a church?
The city flag. So the thing is, the city flag ended up being very similar to our brand colors, but so close that it actually clashes. So in actual fact, what we ended up doing was stepping away a little bit from the city flag to use it for other purposes. And that is the next step of this, which is why I did not actually specifically address it in this brand guide. I guess that brings up the question, would you prefer to use the city flag as a city brand in its entirety and do away with the current logo and branding?
To me, this new alternate logo is a heck of a Main Street logo. That's just what I feel. I'm sure I'm going to get told here in a second how wrong that is.
The alternate logo was.
That popped in my head too when I saw it.
A possible Main Street logo.
A Main Street logo.
Yeah.
Because Main Street's going to need a logo. It seems like most of these Main Street organizations have a logo. That seems pretty standard practice for a main street. So to me, this looks like Main Street. I think it's good for city also. I'm not dogging it. That was my first impression, is that's downtown. The Maple Leaf to me is all of us. That's just where I'm at with that.
Okay, any other comments? All right, let's revisit it back in
Sounds
CEC, and we will figure it out from there. Bring it back. Does that work for everybody? All right. Next item on the agenda, council committee reports, budget and finance. Scott?
Okay, I guess since I have the floor, first I just want to take a moment to thank Laura for all of her help and support. I think people that watch this and have been to meetings can see actually how she helps us real time, keeps us on track, tremendously valuable. That's a fraction of what we all know she does behind the scenes. So, got to work with her, city council, also got to work with her on the school board, and just a tremendous asset. I don't know how we'll replace you. You're going to be missed. And I just want to personally thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Scott.
So to the report, we've met twice, I think, twice since the last council meeting. So there's obviously several topics. First one, we approved the bond sale with Baker Tilly, the Series 2021A GEO bonds. They just kind of brought back some feedback to the committee about, we're AA minus rated, which is good. It's stable, and it's an 18 to 24 month outlook. So we're in a good spot. No issues there. But they always like to bring back any comments in the report that we should be aware of and just be thinking about. And probably the biggest thing, as they looked at our financials was where we fell below our reserve policy on the wastewater reserve fund. I think we're all aware of that. When they look at your credit worthiness, they look at things like that. They didn't ding us for it, but basically they give you a notice of, hey, ongoing missing your policy of reserve funds, and just general reserve funds. What was the other one? Just what was the other one, Glenn? Just general and governmental funds that they kind of look at your policy and look how you did. I think the message is, if we have a policy around these, we really need to try to stick to them, because there are potential consequences if it's a habitual long-term issue, and the policy may need to be reviewed. And it's not necessarily what the policy was, because their guidelines or their minimums are way below where we've set ours. It's the fact that you said it and you missed it, right? You didn't adhere to it. So those are the things they just bring up, as you would expect your financial advisor to do. Just say, hey, watch this, right? Don't continue to do that. So I thought we'd bring that to the council. And I think, the plan is the Budget Finance Committee, we'll talk about in a minute, is going to kind of address that, the wastewater fund, how we go forward. So I'll stop there. Questions or discussion around any of that? Okay. The next thing we talked about, I think in both meetings, was just the 2022 budget timeline and key milestones that we need to have in place. As you know, we have to approve that in late August. I think it's late August, isn't it? Second meeting?
Yeah, we'll hear the first meeting in August, but yes,
Yeah.
August
Is the deadline. So the plan is that I think Baker Tilly is going to present the year-end budget review. Was that I had down today? When are we doing that? When are they going to show the 2020 budget review with kind of an outlook on 21 and 22? We have that scheduled.
Yeah, I don't know if we had a definite date,
Okay.
but I do remember we're discussing that in the committee, so we can talk to them about that and get them.
I think they're gonna be here next meeting.
I thought
Yeah, it should be our next meeting.
16. That's what okay.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to come forward and talk about how we've done, how we did in 2020, where we're at 2021 with an outlook. Then obviously the plan to get the department head input, part of our strategic planning on the infrastructure. I mean, that's going to be both, I think long-term focus, but there's an element of that will need to be addressed some part of the 2022 budget that we'll all have to kind of rationalize in there. So That's a work session probably in late April, I think we talked about. And then, as you know, just the council budget workshops typically start in May, late May, June, where we're starting to look, I think the committee would come out with a recommendation from staff, and the council will get together and start looking at all that and set priorities and hopefully line them up with with where we're at on the strategic plan, at least to that point. Any questions or discussion around that? Okay. The other thing we discussed was just the whole utility rate structure and policy review that the committee wants to take a look at this year and make some recommendations on potentially on the rates. Obviously, that will be part of the budget discussion and where they need to be by each utility. Obviously, wastewater has some issues to get the reserve fund where it needs to be. So that will probably be the leading discussion on any rate changes that we would have. The goal is by the end of the year to have brought forward to the council a rate structure that may differ than what we're doing today and how we actually represent, the meter fee and what's all in there, and then what's in the rate. Simplify it and make it more understandable about, bond payments and where those land in your bill. So when we do those, we can talk about what that meter fee will go to while that bond's being paid off, and then what it resort back to when it's paid off. So we come forward with a structure, whether we enact that next year. I think we want to get to a point where we all have that initial discussion. Does this make sense? Timing of that, I think, is also something we talk about. So that's the plan for the committee to come forward with that. Questions or discussion on that? Okay. We also asked, Baker Tilly to work with staff and look at how they present the year-to-date budget status to the council meetings. And how often do we do that? When's the next time we get
The
that?
next meeting, the second meeting of each month.
So, yeah, I thought it was once a month. So those reports, we asked them, hey, can you come back with something maybe is a little more understandable around the numbers? We've seen them before. We had some questions and it wasn't very clear. So they actually brought back, what the committee saw looked like it's much more easily digestible. We made some recommendations. So they're going to come and show you that on the 16th, and obviously feedback then we can adjust it. So I think it'll be just a better way for us and the citizens to see where we're at on the budget, and any anomalies should easily stand out. Comments will be made on those lines by staff about why, and we can have a discussion on it. So they brought back some nice updates. We also talked about the transportation alternatives grant funding that Ed and staff were successful in winning. For the sidewalk project, $620,000 grant. Our share of that will be $124K, I think, if I did my math right, $124,000. So we're going to have to rationalize that into the 2022 budget, because I think it's the 22-23 federal year, which is October to September. So that $120K will have to, it's kind of a new placeholder right now in the 2022 budget that we'll have to make sure we rationalize as we go through the workshops. And just the last thing we did is we actually finalized a proposed request form for anybody that wanted to ask the city for some help in funding events within the city. I think the committee decided not to recommend a policy around that. It's just more of a form that Glenn can use to have the discussion around where, what, why, and when, and ask questions about funding. What the request of the city is, not only just in funding, but putting up equipment and taking it down. There's a lot of things the city does, blocking off parking spaces. So having those discussions, a form that you can go online, I think it's online right now, and they can, it'll be a much more robust discussion. I think take some of the discretion out of Glenn's hand, which is good, so everybody sees what's needed, sees what's required. And part of it is what's the economic impact, what's the community impact of the event. So it really kind of forces the party to talk about why this is good for the city, and this is why they're asking for some funds. So I think as a council, what we ideally like to do is figure out, and maybe we can in this next budget cycle, about how much we earmark for that activity. I mean, we're already doing it today. There's already history around what we've done, because it can't be a blank check, right? It needs to be a number that the council has put in the budget, and then first come, first serve. When it's gone, it's gone. Otherwise, you set yourself up for turning somebody down later because you think you've reached a milestone that you didn't make known, right? So then it becomes difficult to say no. So I think that's one of the things we want to talk about in the budget process is what's the right amount, get some idea what we've historically done, let's set it, and we can change it going forward if it's too much or too little. Questions, comments on that?
Community development, Corey.
Yeah, so we met on the 22nd. We had the branding, obviously, but the second portion was discussing our admittance to Main Street, which we had announced today by the governor and lieutenant governor. Me, Casey, Glenn, and Lynn attended in Atchison, and they announced that we, along with Junction City and Atchison, would be the 3 towns admitted to the Kansas Main Street program. Very cool. We get to chat with the governor and lieutenant governor afterwards for a pretty good chunk of time. Talked a lot about Baldwin, future Baldwin projects. They had a lot of interest in our town and our community. So very cool. How to move forward? We're going to wait for their direction, but we'll get the committees getting up and going, the 4 committees, and kind of start winding this thing up, et cetera. So very cool.
Great work on that, by the way. It's a lot of hard work, everybody.
Public safety, Susan.
We have not met since the last council meeting, but we are meeting next Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
Public works and utilities, Julie.
We did not meet either since the last council meeting. Our next meeting is March 11th at 9 o'clock. And I would like to mimic Scott's appreciation of Laura. We're going to miss you.
Legislative committee, Brian.
I don't have a report, but piggyback off of these two, and also thank Laura. When you announced, I emailed you right away and said that, to me, it's the most important thing is how your peers view you. And I've gone to a lot of league trainings and conferences. I went to one training that was like 22 clerks there. And I walk in and they all know Laura on a first name basis, and you are highly respected as a clerk in the state of Kansas. And it's really important. I watched you go through 800 hours of training to become certified professional, and that was amazing. And you've done a great job. Just want to thank you. Also, I'll never get good stuff at a conference ever again. Because what you do is you hold your bag open and you walk with Laura. I got like a pen or something once. I went back and showed everybody, and no, she walks up to somebody.
I did take you around, didn't I?
The good stuff comes out when Laura walks by. It's like, here's your big leather binder and cup and a whole bag for the kids. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. City administrator staff comments?
Yeah, just one thing I want to highlight. Since our last meeting, we had the huge cold snap. I'm sure you all noticed when it was 20 degrees below zero. And you also probably saw in the news, I'm sure you couldn't have avoided, a lot of towns around us were blacked out for sometimes a short period of time, sometimes a long period of time. Schools were closed and people's lives were disrupted. Difficult situations throughout Kansas and Midwest, and you all know that. I don't need to tell you any more about that. Here in Baldwin City, we kept the lights on, kept the power going. It's really because of one thing. We have public power here, and we have our own power plants. And we were able to run our power plant, our main power plant that was built in 2003 and opened in 2004. And we ran those 2 engines. We ran them on diesel for really almost a week. We started last Monday and then ran it through a Friday. So we ran 24/7. And we kept the lights on here, which is 2 things. They kept the lights on in Baldwin City, but it also really helped us out a lot financially because a lot of people saw huge spikes in the natural gas, which affects your heating, but also your electricity. Since a lot of electricity here in Kansas, throughout the Midwest, is now generated through natural gas. We didn't escape all the high costs. We have a little bit of exposure on that. But mainly, we avoid the worst part of it since we were able to offset a lot of the natural gas that were running our plants. So great job once again by our power plant guys who staffed that 24/7. They ran 2 12-hour shifts for that week. And it's just great to have that asset in your community. So, it's just another reason to keep public power and keep building what we have there. And I know when we go through our strategic planning for utilities and whatever, you'll see more of what we have planned. So it's just another, and we don't know when those disasters are coming our way, but our guys always do a great job and they step up. So while a lot of towns are really struggling, we were going out of life as normal as it can be when it's 20 below zero. I'm not saying that's normal, but it's the best we can do here. So again, those guys did a great job, and appreciate everybody's support in public power here. So that's all I got for tonight.
Can I give a report on the CDBG grants? You guys might have thought those went away, but they are still hanging on.
Good.
Elite Chiropractic applied for some additional funding because he was approved up to that $30,000, and so he got an additional $1,433.90, and that just went through. We have $54,355.52 that's still unused, and I begged. Heritage Tractor said they didn't need the money, so I was hoping that they would apply because they probably could have gotten it, but they have until May.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask, 'cause
Yeah,
I
we
thought it had
had
to
to
be used up.
spend, yeah,
Okay,
we had to spend so much up to December 30th.
okay,
We had to do that, and we met that. So, people have until May to apply.
okay, great.
Um,
Can you say that balance again?
$54,355.52.
All right, any council comments? The only thing everybody already said what I was gonna say. So I just want to thank Laura for all her help with me the last 3
It was
years. I know. It's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it.
I know it.
But you will be missed. Your knowledge will be missed. You've been a great asset to the city and to the council, so I really appreciate all your help and everything. We did have a plaque order for you, but they couldn't get it done in time for this meeting.
COVID.
So typically I present your plaque.
Okay.
So I will do that when we receive it.
You just come back for another meeting.
Yeah.
We'll keep your seat for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do truly, truly appreciate everything. So
Thank you very much.
gotcha. I know you quite a bit over 3 years, so
Yes, we have gotten quite the relationship, yes.
it's been a pleasure.
And it has been a pleasure, and I appreciate each and every one of you allowing me to grow in this role and help each and one of you grow in your role and be open to that. And I appreciate that very much. I will miss. I'm not going to cry. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Laura. You're gonna be very missed.
All right. Executive session. Blake, who do we need in there?
Council, myself, obviously, Lynn, Laura.
Somebody want to make a motion for that? How long do we need? 20,
Half hour
30?
to be safe, so we don't have to come back out.
30 minutes?
8:20 then.
I botched this motion last time, somebody else did.
It's written in there. You guys.
I didn't see it.
Here it goes.
Everybody wait for Scott.
It's not in there.
And the new edition.
Okay.
I don't see it.
I froze.
Executive session with City Attorney Blake Glover, Glenn Rodden, City Administrator Laura Hartman, City Clerk to join the council to discuss a privileged and confidential legal matter of the city pursuant to the attorney-client privilege exception KSA 75-4319B2.
You bring your computer over to Scott.
What's so hard about that?
It's blank, I'm telling you, it's not in there.
Can we just say what she said?
Scott, get right here. All right. Hang on. Let me get my videotape.
Where is it? All right,
See, I've got my, it's a minute.
I know, you've already made the minutes.
I
You're
know.
getting a little ahead of yourself. I move the city council recess into executive session with city attorney Blake Glover, Glenn Rodden, city administrator, or Hartman, city clerk, to join the council to discuss a privileged and confidential legal matter of the city pursuant to the attorney-client privilege exception, KSA 75-4319B2.
Second.
Been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did we give a time?
Until 8:20.
Motion passed.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes, we're adjourned.